I posted a picture to Instagram and everyone was like, oh my god, show me how, and please do an animal charm series. So maybe, you never know. This could be the beginning of something new. I have no idea. Anyways, these are little turtles. They're really, really cute. His tail is twisted. Let me fix it. There we go. Look, it's just a little baby turtle. That was weird. Don't mind me. Anyways, yeah, so this one I think is the best tail. Anyways, completely irrelevant. If you want to know how to make these turtles, watch this video. And yeah, if you have any other requests, anything, whether it's Rainbow Loom actual bracelets or charms, request them, leave them below. So you start off with the arrow pointing towards you. You put 2 bands of whatever flesh tone you're using on the first 2 pegs going down, then 2 more on the next 2 pegs going down. Then you stay with the center row and you add 2 more bands on the next 2 pegs, 2 more bands on the next 2 pegs. So far in the center you have 4 pegs with bands on them. Then you take 2 more, and from the 3rd peg in the center, you put them on a diagonal upward to the 2nd peg on the left. You need to make sure you're using 2 bands for most of this project. I'll specifically tell you when you need to use more or less, but you need to have at least 2 on there for it to be like bulky enough to be the actual turtle. Otherwise, it's full of holes and just looks super strange. Okay, you then want to take 3 bands. So this is like one of the few times you need 3. And you want to stretch all 3 from the 2nd peg across to the center 2nd peg, if that makes sense. So across instead of up and down how you were doing it before. And this will just attach the, the loom bands from side to side. So for the shell, you're going to need 2 colors. So I'm doing the main part of my shell green, and then the like detail of it dark green. So what you want to do is attach 2 bands, the dark green on the bottom, or whatever your detail coloring is, and the lighter green on the top, whatever the main color of the shell is going to be. So you put on 4 of those on the center row of pegs going down. So you're going to end up with the first one's going to overlap with the beige, then the next 2 will just be the green on green pegs, then 2 more green on green, and the last one, which is also green on green. Then in only the main color of your shell, which for me is light green, you want to attach like the outside part of the shell. So that means going in a diagonal from the peg that has the brown and the greens to the left and down 1, and then put 2 more groupings of bands, so 2 bands on each peg, like I said, going down, and then 1 more in a diagonal to meet up with the end of the shell pegs, and then continue to do that on the other side. I know it sounds really complicated. It's probably a lot easier just to see what I'm doing and match it. You do, however, want to keep in mind that you are probably going to need to pause this video and continue on in the process of doing this. You're not just going to be able to do it all right when I say. Okay, so once the main part of the shell is done, you want to take your darker color and place them going from the center peg out to the left on all 3 of the like parts of the shell that aren't on an angle. So there's 3 center pegs. So the 5th, 6th, and 7th pegs in the center going outwards both directions. Now make sure you do all of one side first and all of the other side after, because you want the bands to be, on top of each other in the same way every single time. Okay, so the base of the turtle is done, the head and the shell. Now what you need to do is work on the feet and the tail. So you're going to use some of the pegs at the bottom of the board because you're just going to put them on and then take them off. Okay, so on the far right side of the pegboard, with it facing the same way it was from the beginning, you're going to attach 2 bands going from the 3rd bottom peg to the 2nd bottom peg, then 3 bands from the 2nd bottom peg to the bottom peg, and then you're going to put a cap band on it, but instead of capping it once, where you just twist it in an X, fold it over, and put it on twice, you're going to cap it 4 times. So you're going to use the same band and twist it around 4 complete times before you let it go. Then you're going to go into your hook and pick up the bottom 3 bands, not the cap band, but all the other ones,
and loop them up over the peg just before that to create the teardrop shape that all rainbow loom patterns have. Then you want to go into that second to last peg, pick up the 2 bands that you placed down and fold them up over onto the third to bottom peg. Then you want to make sure you take it from the third peg where you just finished, and don't let that go or else it will all fall apart, and take the whole thing off of the loom. So then you'll have a little tiny foot, and you'll just hook that on over the pegs on the turtle's body, and then continue on to do the rest of the feet. Now, when you put all 4 of them on, you want to put them on the 2 outside ones that aren't diagonal, but where the diagonals begin, if that makes any sense. I feel like I'm really bad at talking about how to do this, and you'll just be better by seeing me do this. But yeah. So that's what I'm doing. And you just repeat the whole thing over and over again. I really feel like it sounds really complicated and looks really complicated, but once you just do it, you get the hang of it, and it's really not complicated at all. So yeah, anyways, you want to continue to do that, like I said, for all 4 pegs, because turtles have 4 feet, 2 front and 2 back. So, you just continue on. But that is really not complicated, I promise. Okay, so once you have all of the feet on, you want to take one more of that same fleshy tone color to make the tail and just tie it into a knot, which can get actually really hard because these bands are really, really tiny. But tie it into a knot. Then take another one and cap it. I capped it 3 times. So then when you go underneath the cap band, you pick up the first diagonal one and hook it over to its side. I didn't do anything with the tail one yet. I didn't really complete that sentence or thought when I was thinking it, but just make the tail, put it at this side. Okay, so like I said, you go underneath the cap bands, and then you pick up the first 2 that go diagonal, and for me they're to the right, so I picked those 2 up and put them over to the right. Then the next 2 go to the left. Okay, so now what you want to do is pick up one of the 2 that you have left. So for me it's the lightest green because that's the one that's on top, and I'm going to pull that through and put it onto the center peg just above that. Then I'm going to attach my tail. So what I'm going to do is loop each side of the knot onto the exact same peg. So put it on once, and then put the same loop on the same peg. So it kind of is like capped again, I suppose. Then pick up that final green band, which for me is a dark green because it's the detail band. And so I just picked that up and put it upwards, directly ahead onto the peg above it, or in front of it, or ahead of it, or whatever that's called. Okay, then you go into the feet, and you want to work on the side bands, the bands that go from side to side. So you go into the feet, and you only pick up that band that's going sideways, which for me is dark green. Pick it up and place it over to the side towards the center so that it loops back onto itself. And again, going to form that teardrop shape that Rainbow Loom tutorials have, or Rainbow Loom creations, I suppose. Then you want to do the exact same thing on the left side. Go in between the feet, find that dark green band or whatever detail color you are using, pick it up, and then put it over into the center again. So each peg has like a lot of bands on it to begin with. So, you want to be really careful not to break any, but just be aware of that and push them down if you need to create more space. Then you go back into that foot and you pick up the 2 bands that are the same color and you pull them upwards on both sides, as you see me doing here. Then you go towards the center and you pick up both of the bands. You don't have to do a specific one than the other because there's no tail being added this time. You're just picking them both up and placing them over top of the loom peg, in the center. Then from there you want to do the middle ones again. Find the middle one, pull it over to the center, go to the other side, find the middle one, pull it over to the center. You always want to remember that you need to do the center ones as well, not just the side ones, and the center ones have to be done like right after you do, you do bottom row up, side ones in, bottom row up, side ones in, same thing over and over again. And then you just repeat that step. So find the ones that go up, which are the bands that you put originally straight down, pick them up and loop them forward. Okay, so now we're on the last section of feet. And again, you want to do the side bands because these are the last 2 side bands that are on this project. So go in between the feet, find the dark green band, which is the side band, pull it over to the center, and do the same on the other side. Go in, find it, and pull it over to the center. Okay, so once basically almost all of the shell is done, and the side bands are done, you're going to go one more time in through the bottom of the feet and one more time in through the center. So I started with the center, picked up both bands and placed them to the very top. Then I did the same thing from the sides with the bands going on a diagonal. This peg here, the 4th peg in the center row, is going to have the most bands on it of all because everything doubles up and loops over onto it. So be sure that you're watching what you're doing and not breaking any bands and they're not flying off. Then you want to pick that peach one or flesh toned one, pull it up, and then from that you want to find the 2 that are on that peg that go each way. One's going to go straight forward and one's going to go diagonal to the left. Then on those the second pegs down, you're going to go underneath them between the rubber bands, and you're going to find the 2 that originated the entire Rainbow Loom creation and pull them upwards. And then same for the 2, or the second peg, sorry, that's in the center. Find the 2 bands and pull them forward. Okay, now we're going to take the 2 from the left, which now should be 4, the equivalent to 4 bands. Pick them all up and move them to the center so that the center peg has the equivalent to 8 bands on it, or 8, yeah, 8, because 2 is the original 2 that were folded over plus the ones that were moved. Go in there and hook up a regular as if you're doing like an extension on a bracelet. And instead of that, you want to pick it up, put the one side over top and pull out the original side so that it makes a little tiny knot. You're done. All the looping and looming is all done. Now it's just a matter of pulling it off of the pegboard. You want to do this really, really, really carefully because this is the easiest point for any of your bands to break. I like to start mine off with the hook, as you saw, and then pull it off kind of in sections. You don't want anything to break, but then your creation is done and you have your little charm. It's adorable. I know.
Also, I have a playlist of all my Rainbow Loom tutorials, which I will link for you guys to see, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!